There we go. Hey, sorry about that little technical difficulty there. It was not wanting to go live. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. We're going back to my original, area where I used to live, Oregon. We got reached out, and there was a group of people that did an investigation. They were part of the Cascade Theatrical Company, and a couple of friends that were also in to paranormal, including Stacy, who is a psychic medium. And this one was really fascinated when they told me about this, because this was July 27th, 2021. They did an investigation at the Cascade Theater, and we're going to talk about what they found, the history kind of behind this, leading up to that, where 5 people got together and they had a dog, Scooby-Doo. So this is really cool. So we're going to take this in. We're going to get with these 2 ladies are joining us, and we're going to find out what is going on at the Cascade Theater in Bend, Oregon. And that is now. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite
then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, and at this time, Chris, how are you, sir?
Wonderful.
He's there you are. I was going to say, are you muted? No. Hey, so I've had vacation for the last couple of days, so I'm just been hanging out with my folks and preparing for tonight's episode. And it's time. Let's bring them on right now. We have Janelle and Stacy joining us live from Central Oregon. How are you two?
Doing good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that Corrie, wasn't able to make it. She had a last second family emergency pop up, so she had to take care of that. So we wish her, the best on that. Hopefully that clears up pretty soon here. So that'll be awesome. But one, like I teased here, let's talk about how the fact that you guys had real life Scooby-Doo with you. That's awesome. That's what it's what I was, when you said that at first, I thought like, that's a cool nickname. No, that's the dog's name. That's awesome.
I was joking around most of the night with having the dog was really great because he has this other sense where he would draw our attention to different areas of the building.
And
I felt like Velma.
Well, I was going to say, in a way too, isn't it? That's really cool when some people do that, when they actually watch and they pay attention to the animals, because cats, dogs, birds, they sense these energies that are around. That's what's really cool, that, they had that there, as another tool.
Yeah.
And
we're glad that the theater let us have a canine in the building.
That's cool. And then the joke, I was just going to say, I wanted to get that out of the way first, but the one thing, can we all be honest about the Scooby-Doo show? Why they always ran? Why didn't you just try to pull the mask off the creature at the first, right in the onset? I know that'd be a lousy show, but I'm just like, after a while, wouldn't that just become your first instinct to find out if it was Farmer Johnson, all along?
It's like running up the stairs in a scary movie. Why are you running upstairs?
Yeah, I always thought about that with the cartoon. As I was watching it, it's like, pull the mask first, reach over there, and then if it still goes, then okay, now it's time to run. Now you're starting to say yoinks. Yeah, but no, that was the thing. I want you to get right to it because you kind of held close to the chest here. So, I don't know a whole lot of the details on the event. So lead us up to what got you guys to form your team to
Well,
do
I
this actually in the theater.
Yeah, I started teaching voiceover, voice acting classes at the theater, and I would stand on the stage, and my students would be in the chairs out in the audience, so to speak. And one particular day after class, all my teenage students left, and I was collecting my things and getting things ready to leave, and I heard these high heel shoes run across behind me. It sounded like I've heard in theater just before the curtain's going to open. There's someone running across the stage. It's like a quick trot, 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 and then it stopped. And it didn't register it at first, and then I stopped and I looked around and I was like, wait, I'm the only one here. And it sounded like it was behind me or up above me. So I went into the main office and I said, did you happen to the man who's in the office? I said, you didn't happen to have heels on and run across the stage just a minute ago, did you? And he's like, no, but got on to the topic of, they've heard ghosts possible in the building. There's a plaque at the back of the, behind all the seats that has a name in honor of someone who passed away. A lot of the chairs have little plaques on them that have, names of people who have purchased, their names on chairs like theaters do. So I started going, well, who is this thing that tried to reach out to me? And started doing some research online and was coming up with dead ends. I was looking at old photos, dirt roads of downtown Bend, trying to pinpoint what used to be that building. I couldn't find really any answers, but I came across a lady's name. I sent you, drawing a blank on her first name, Nerves, last name Corrie.
Yeah,
and she passed away in 2010, I believe. Very big in theater, opera singer, involved at the college here, Central Oregon Community College, which a lot of people are connected between the theater and the college. And I was telling my friend about this, and she says, oh, I actually know her when I lived in Seattle. We were doing opera together, and started to feel like she may have, because that's the only name that really was similar to like heels. She loved to be in heels and on stage, I learned, and kind of don't know if it was her, but kind of felt like that, at least if anything, was kind of like the beginning of the ball that got rolling, and kind of got obsessed with trying to find out as much detail as I can about the history of the theater. And then I went on this fairly new group on Facebook called, I think it's Bend Paranormal. And I put a shout out there to see if anybody would be interested, after getting approval from the theater, to get a small group together to investigate. And that came together naturally and very quickly. I had pretty much a tech girl, a medium, a few comedic friends that were into paranormal that made it a lot of fun.
I bet.
We performed for the ghosts, which we'll talk about later. But that's kind of how it all started. Was just, I heard a noise and I ran.
We're going with cameras on and ready the second we walk through the door, because, it was, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it at all. 20 feet into the door and things are already making contact, and the energy was just big and beautiful. I mean, it was an amazing investigation.
Italian man that had walked in with a bunch of women around him, and you can remember that?
Yes.
So how many?
He was.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many do you? Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, how many do you think that you encountered on that investigation? Like actual.
An entire theater full of people, the audience and actors. it was an entire full building that we encountered at
Oh,
some
wow.
point during the night. Yeah.
And it was interesting because when later on, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, we were going after the initial walkthrough, we were going around and I had the EMF reader, and I'd read off names on the chair that were on the little plaques, and the EMF reader would spike up when I would name off the names, and then it would drop down to nothing again. And we found out where the electrical wall was, and so we were aware of that, but we were moving around the theater, and that kind of stuff was definitely happening, as far as getting readings off of the EMF. I wish my tech girl was here to kind of go into details on the fun toys that she brought.
Well,
Oh
I saw some of those. Yeah, and I was going to ask you one of the things too, and I brought this up with our friends, Greater Boston Paranormal Associates. One, because they do investigations all the time on the USS Salem. And when you guys did this, if you plan on going here again, I suggested to them getting like a forensic artist. So that way somebody like Stacy can actually relay what you're seeing. And so when you're actually seeing it, so that way it's like if you see these things, can describe these things, then you could have somebody that actually can draw it out, and then you can actually have a face to put with these.
That's a great idea. I think I definitely want to go back, and because this was the first time, never done it before. We learned a lot. And there's still some things that are there, which we'll explain later, that I'd like to go back further and explore.
Yeah. And obviously it wasn't it's not a gigantic facility. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to stay, localized, because I was telling my son, the producer, before I've been by it. I've never actually been in the theater there on Greenwood. I mean, so I drove, but I've just never actually been in the building itself. But it's not a gigantic facility. So this is one where it's fairly easy to get everybody together. And if you have, because based off the list, you had the stuff, the grid laser, you had, the only thing I was, like I said, with the tech, if you had it, have you guys thought about using the obligatory, the one that everybody loves, the cat balls?
I've never heard of that.
It's the little round balls that flash. And so when they move, they'll light up. So you lay those out there, and if something comes and moves them, they start going crazy.
Oh wow! Yeah,
so
we did this. We decided to put on a show for the spirits, and so because some of us are entertainers, we'd go up and spend a little time telling jokes, or I played piano and whatnot. And one of the unforgettable moments for me was when I was done doing my stand-up bit, which it wasn't that great, but I said something funny because the voice box said encore.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that was pretty cool. Then there was one point where the song Happy came on, and that was a connection with one of the people that was investigating. And that was after the performance, the clap along because you're happy song came on, and we thought, well, how appropriate is that? Them telling us that they're happy with the performance.
That's awesome. And that's, you can't, just some of those validations, like when you actually get some stuff in that you get, especially like that encore one, that is awesome.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. And I got to play piano in the dressing room, and we put one of the devices there and got some responses too. I don't quite remember, but welcome back, Stacy.
Yeah,
you
were here in spirit.
I'm sorry, you guys.
No,
I keep getting thrown out. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that.
No, I was thinking about too. One of the comments talked about the original Ghostbusters, and you talked about going up to piano. I just popped in my head that Peter Venkman, going up there with the keys. Ding, 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 they hate this. It's just, I was like, but most of the stuff, like we've talked to a lot of people, it's not about, and I'm not a big fan of the provoking style investigations anyway. And so it sounds like you guys did it exactly how it was, where it was more wanting to know who was here, why they're here, and getting to know the people, the passed on souls that were still in that area. as opposed to just going for just going for the flashy, like, look what we got. It was more, the one where you actually went step by step, which is really cool.
Stacy
Yeah.
pointed out to me when we first had one of our first conversations about how, because I was telling her I was stuck trying to find who was there, and no one died at the building, and she explained to me that you don't have to die at the location. If they enjoy being at a certain place, they will hang out there. And it got me really feeling like I wanted to be respectful. I didn't know if what I was experiencing was real to lead up to this. And so I wanted to just make sure that I was we were respectful to the spirits, but also to the facility, and to what our purpose was there, and entertaining them, which is why they're there, is they like to see the shows. Got that vibe. Well, then let's entertain them, which wasn't really planned.
Some crazy synchronicity. Did you see this? The question, the statement I put up on the screen. It was that the person watching actually asked that prior to you saying that.
Oh.
They said,
wow.
I wonder if spirits are attractive to reminders of their past lives. And then you went right into that. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm like, that's a pretty cool synchronicity. They had just asked that question, and you just, that was what you went right to. And I was pretty cool.
Wow. That was cool.
So do you know, out of the number of purchased chairs in the theater, how many of them people have passed on? So you could kind of decipher on which ones you might be hearing, who you might be hearing, or who might be coming through?
That's something you get me all excited to want to do another investigation there, because I feel like we really weren't finished. And that is something that we could really, take down the names of everyone who's been, featured on those plaques and investigate.
Yes.
I know one of them is Pickney, is the last name, which during the investigation, Stacy brought up, I believe it was Stacy brought up the Pickney name, and I explained that is also the music hall at Music Center at Central Oregon Community College. So again, there was another connection to the college. Stacy had, I'd like for her to go in a little bit about the history. She was seeing ice, and this will come important later on towards the end of the investigation. But at the very beginning, would you like to indulge on what you thought the building was underneath and used to be before the theater with the ice?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I remember we kept seeing this ice blocks, and the building full of ice, and it just didn't make any sense. And I thought, well, Bend is cold, and I imagine there was an ice house somewhere, right? And but that's all I would see about it. I was just kind of being shown kind of the old days as we were walking through, but as you see these old things, you pick up different layers. Like I was seeing also a pit underneath the stage. I said, there's a great big hole here, or a big pit here, or something, another something underneath here. So I was seeing ice, I was seeing this pit, but they weren't really that close in timeline. But that's, it's just gathering information and then puzzle pieces, right? And then you put them all together.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
So later on, we decided to go into the towards the end when the activity was kind of dimming down a little bit. This was probably around 2 a.m. We decided to take the EMF reader, go upstairs. There's a little loft area that has all of the props. And we would take the EMF reader to different props to see if anything would spike. And we would grab a hold of the things that would spike. We took them downstairs to Stacy, who was on the stage, and we set up the stuff on this table. And then we would see what kind of things that she would read off of them. And we brought down kind of this old looking urn type thing with a lid. And correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, but we came down and set it down, and she said something about how that was interesting. And we opened it up and there was ice cubes in it. And so we thought, well, weren't you talking about ice earlier? And so we thought that was kind of, an interesting link
cool.
of like, we didn't even know there was, it's just fun. We don't know what, but it's just fun to play along and see what kind of things happen. And, like the image I sent you, I was like, that was just taking multiple shots of the stage that's dark. And I saw this little lit up little fuzzy thing and blew it up. And I was like, well, that looks interesting. So but you don't really have an answer. You're just like, well, I noticed this, but who knows?
Yeah, as you're talking there, I'm going to bring them up here to show everybody. And that's, it's one of those things too, where it's just, I really liked those pictures, and I used it in one of those, let me see if I can try this again, where I'm not stuttering on my own words. I used it in the promo for the show. There, man, I act like this is my first time ever doing this. Yeah, so it was really cool the way it blown up. And like I said, I like those. I like how you get those kind of captures, and I really like how the same way like what Stacy did. To me, that is some of the best validation when you have somebody say something prior to either the discovery, or when they have somebody like Stacy go through first, and then you do the investigation, and then you compare notes, and you realize, because I'm that way, scientific research is that way. You find these things where you overlap is how you find your, like, just like anything when you're doing something. If you want to find the center of something, put lines across, and where they cross that's your center point. And so if you can have something like that where Stacy's saying, I see ice, and then as you guys are going through it, you find it, you're like, I'm going to go with, we got something here. This doesn't seem like made up. I go, this is pretty much one where I don't really know anybody that can contest that this is real or not, because this seems pretty factual.
Moments like that were happening more frequently the first half of the investigation, but lots of giggles. Stacy, you want to tell them about what happened prior to the chair incident? Oh, she disappeared. There's the image. Yep, now this is taken from the couple of the back, somewhere in the back row, back of this seating area. And I just kept taking pictures as different paranormal investigators, if we can call ourselves that, were asking questions to the spirits, looking for answers out of the toys that we had. And I just kept taking pictures. It wasn't until the next day I started looking through pictures, and a lot of them were just black. And then I saw this little lit up smudge and zoomed in, and was kind of looks like to me like armor, like someone dressed up for a scene in a play of some sort. Yeah,
and that was one of the things I was say, because for me this almost looks like like right here is a nose, and like the eyebrows, and then you got the top of the head, and then like this could be like an ear right here, and it's almost like this face is either, to me, this head's peering behind something, or it's like you said, it's inside of something. Like you could say the armor. That's what it looked like to me. Yeah, I don't know if what everybody else sees. Like I said, just looking at it, that's what popped out to me, because you asked me a question, what do you think you see? And that's what I saw. I mean, but other people are going to be, I don't see anything. You might have some people that see the different things. So I'll let people, comment, tell everybody what you think you see in this photo. But
I'd love to know.
Yeah, please do. So everybody just watch it. Please put that in the comments what you think it is. And then, but yeah, that's one of those things I would love, if you do this again, to employ, because if you have this much activity, I mean, I feel like you could probably, so Stacy, were you seeing this is for the people that don't have this gift or thing. Are you seeing people like in real time, like you see me and Chris and Janelle? So when you see it, like you can describe, I see a guy with a beard with a gray hat and a Marvel t-shirt. I mean, are you able to see those kind of details, or is it more just like a fuzzy, just a generalized, I see a man, kind of a taller man?
Sometimes it's always different. Sometimes it's just an outline, and it's a kind of an outline that you can tell it's a male, or an outline you can tell it's a female. sometimes it's very specific. But there was, there was so much activity in the theater that night. It was so amazing that there was, I think that we probably missed 3/4 of what we caught. You know what I mean? And the one gentleman that kept coming forward and stayed with us the whole night, we ended up calling him Mr. Handsome.
Yeah.
He was very handsome. And so, he was wanting to make sure that we knew what he looked like.
That's
He's
cool.
a little different.
And that's one of the things, like, I don't want to say, because envious sounds just terrible to say. As I'm envious of that gift, because it's one. I mean, I've got all this stuff all the time. I want to see these things. Like I've seen what I think are shadow figures. I've seen them a couple times in the house. Chase has seen it in the house. I've seen in different things here, but I don't. I'm just, how cool would it be to be able to go into some place like that and to see that woman in the Victorian era dress, or just to go see a native, tribal, and go and see these things in, almost like real time and what they were doing. I go, to me, that is something so cool.
It was really important for me to have Stacy. I probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her saying yes, just because we already found out we had this connection of me knowing her son and working with him, but having that guide to kind of let us know what's going on, and she kept getting all these different names that kept coming out, and descriptions of all these different people, and they had senses of humor, which I found surprising. The things that she would say, we'd start laughing. And so that was, I loved the humor that the spirits had in channeling through Stacy and sharing with us what their thoughts were.
Did you guys come across anybody that's like in an altered state, like not like how they were before? Because one of the comments too was from King was about how a lot of times, like, you can see some of these images, they have like a skeletal appearance to them in some of those ones. So did you come across anything like that where it was like some altered version of what they used to be, like they were in, like this, how, well, we'll use, it's Beetlejuice, how you have the waiting room for the recently departed, and it's in either the shrunken head, or they're sitting there, they're holding their head that was cut, or the arms are missing, just, do you ever encounter that? Or is it kind of like the spirits kind of show themselves how they want to be projected? That's,
you do encounter that. We didn't at the theater. Everybody was there and dressed up and ready to have a good time. But I encounter that in other places. Yeah. And sometimes if you get a particularly nasty spirit, they want to be scary. So they're going to project themselves as awful as they can. But at the theater, it was so wonderful. They were just happy that we were there for them,
What? And I think that's in general what she hit on. I think that was one of the things, like, because you always have like the trigger objects. You put here, like, if you're going to encounter a little girl, girl or little boy, you put a toy out there for them to play with. You do something like that. And I think the way you guys did performing on the stage, that was like an instant connection with everybody that's lost there, because that's the reason they're there. Whether it was back in the 1800s, whether it was somebody just died of a heart attack 5 weeks ago. They love the theater. That was their thing. That was their release. That was the thing. And you guys were providing that for them. So I'm sure that was what really kicked off, a lot of stuff, which I'm assuming, I'm projecting that, that is what happened. I'm assuming that's when, things really ramped up.
In hearing the noise initially with the shoes, and then Monica McDonald Torrey is her name. The reason I got really excited when I first found her is because she was a lot like me when she was alive. She was active in the community. She loved performing and sharing that passion with others, and entertaining children, teaching music, a lot of things that I do. And I feel I was kind of one of the first ones since the lockdown of COVID to start teaching at the theater. And I'm thinking, I'd like to think that she saw me on stage teaching, connecting with these kids, that maybe she felt like she could make a connection with me, and get the ball rolling, and really felt like through the process of learning about her and the theater, that the more that I learned, the more I wanted to present what this theater has behind the scenes, so to speak. And the prop room upstairs was really fascinating. There was one artifact that brought down that made us feel nauseous when we were holding it. And I brought it down to Stacy, and that was the only item she felt a negative energy from. And correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, because this was like 7-8 months ago, but we put salt around it. We took it, salt around it, put it in a bag, said a prayer. Larry and I did. Larry Lloyd was one of the members of the investigation. We took it outside and took it out of the building. Is that when the chair incident happened, Stacy?
Yep, that's how we did it. We salted it and got it out of the building, and it needed to go. That was something was awful was attached to that. Awful.
I didn't feel right for a little while after that, and I felt fine prior to that, but my stomach really did not feel good. She did a blessing for me, and did a little ceremony to remove anything that may have been entered, but that was an interesting experience. And then we'd take breaks and go outside and discuss our findings in between sessions, where a pair of us would go into the building, walk around, do some things, go back out, we'd talk about it, and then another set would go in. We didn't want to have too many people in the building. If somebody was on one side making noise, the other team might think that it was a ghost or something. So
Yeah,
during that time when we were outside, we'd sat on these chairs that the theater had sitting out back with no problem. We had a cauldron with herbs and flowers and ceremonial burning that we did prior to bless us, and sat down in this chair, and it collapsed on me. And this was right after I had held that artifact that, do you remember what the artifact was? It was kind of creepy.
It was like a terracotta or a ceramic body person, and it was just weird. It wasn't anything beautiful. It was very odd, and and that chair, when you sat in the chair, it didn't just like break a little bit. Every piece
Splintered
of that chair came apart. All the legs fell off. All the whole. I mean, everything. All the
big
pieces
person.
fell apart. Everything. No.
Yeah, I'm not a big person.
No.
I don't really break chairs, and it was a wooden sturdy chair that just.
Yes.
Now, did you take photographs of that object by any chance?
Yes.
I'm sure one of us has a picture of it.
Did those come out distorted in any way, or did they come out pretty clear? Because that's why I'm wondering if like the energy coming off of that would alter the photograph. Like if you're going to get some of them that are kind of blurred.
I took some pictures of that, and one is blurry and the others are clear. Yeah.
So that's what I'm curious if it was somewhere in the time, like with it blurry, if that's when people were feeling a little, affected by that object. Because it sounds like something was attached to that. And that'd be interesting to be able to research like where that came from, if that was something that somebody just brought as a prop and just left, or if that was something that, just like I said, actually had an attachment for it, and we're like, hey, let's just give it to the theater.
Well, the theater has a lot of odd things upstairs, but most of them are just like candle operas and books and, comforters, pillows, blankets. This definitely was a little different than the rest. But like I said, we were going to each section of the props, putting that EMF reader on different things. Some things would have no read, and others would just spike up. And that one was, if I remember correctly, the biggest spiked one. And by the time I picked it up, carried it downstairs to put it to show Stacy, I started feeling sick. And then I told her, we got rid of it. She did a little prayer over me, and just as quickly as the feeling came, it went.
Did you feel any temperature change as you were close to the object? I mean, did you feel unease or anything as, just around this?
Yeah, I don't really remember except walking down the stairs and feeling woozy. And that was like, am I tired? My stomach's turning. And I didn't connect that it was the object because I'd never experienced anything like that. I don't remember any temperature change.
Now, what happened to the object? Is it still at the theater?
We left it outside, and the next day I notified a couple board members of why that object was outside, because I had stressed to the team that we were to not touch anything, remove anything, or any of those kinds of things. And here I am removing something out of the building, and
touching,
so
removing.
Yeah. And but they were totally on board and understanding, and expressed that they would love for us to come and kind of do that again with more of, because after that I was kind of like done with the prop room. And,
I can imagine.
but would like to go back and do that more, because they would like for us to remove any of those things, because like you said, thrift stores, different places, people donate things to the building, and who knows what else is up there that's causing weird things to happen.
Yeah. No, Chris, you're muted.
Did you feel any type of way when you were walking down the stairs that you might fall, or were you holding on really tight, or was the object?
Definitely. It was about 4 or 5 steps down that I had to grab the handle, and I was holding the object and started feeling like, ooh, I'm feeling a little weird.
Yeah, I think I might have threw their object.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really interesting, kind of shook me for a couple of days. Stacy gave me some herbs to burn, and I kept doing my own little prayers over and smelling them, and kind of felt better about 48 hours after. But I didn't want to even talk to my husband, because I felt so angry and irritable, and I'm not really that type of personality. And I felt really, I even messaged and called Stacy a few times going, I don't feel right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. You guys were blessed to have Stacy along for for this one, because that's
and Scooby-Doo.
Yep. Yeah. Then that's a good segue. It's like, so what was Scooby picking up on during the thing? I mean, because you said that I'm assuming that he would
alert.
And so he would just kind of alert something's here, all of a sudden look. Because how animals will just kind of look like they're just off in la la land, staring off in a corner, and you're like, and you realize, okay, they're probably seeing something that I'm not.
The front entrance, the popcorn machine that's not there. Do you remember us having that incident, Stacy, with the dog?
I don't know. She heard Stacy. Did you do you remember part about the what you said with the popcorn machine?
Yeah, we smelled buttered popcorn towards the end of the investigation. We were in the front lobby, and we kept smelling. All of us were smelling, if I remember correctly, we're smelling buttered popcorn. And her dog was going to the front window area and really adamant about sniffing in that area. And it seems, and that's when Stacy was saying that she was seeing something along the lines of, that's where there used to be like a ticket window or something, and there was a popcorn machine. But we were we were drawn to that area because of the dog's nose just going nuts. Also, as we were going through the part where we were going through the different chairs, the dog would go off into certain aisles, and that would kind of lead me to go check my EMF reader in those chairs and name off those names, and then it would spike when I would say the names right after.
Wow.
Did the dog have
That's
any,
the video I tried to send you.
Did Scooby have any interaction with the prop that had all the negative energy?
I'm not sure if he was with us at that time. I believe he was outside with one of the investigators chilling by the back door. He normally would hang out and do the investigations with Stacy, since it was her dog, and Stacy had an assistant with her as well that helped out. So it was an amazing experience, and we actually, after talking to some of the board members about what we had happen, we think it'd be a really great idea to kind of make it into an interactive play where we could show images and footage throughout the play, but have actors act out our investigative team, and even have, the play off of the theater in itself to kind of show what we discovered. But we definitely would have to do another investigation again and do the focus more in the 6 to midnight versus the midnight to 4 that we thought was going to be the peak. That was a surprise.
Oh yeah. That I don't know if you saw that one. Larry did update. He said, as he remembers, that it didn't collapse. When you sat down, is that you were sitting in it, and then before it happened, like you were actually sitting in it for a little while, and then
we all sat in the chair previous to it collapsing. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, when that was just. So is it, Lindsay? Because obviously, if there's a few people sitting in this, somebody would have noticed if it was not sound, if it was rickety. They'd be like, "Man, this chair's going to fall apart." So that's something that what everybody was sitting down at, and then it just like I said, explodes into pieces. That's pretty intense.
My butt felt it for a couple days.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's the odd thing of it all of this happening earlier in the investigation really was kind of the big shocker, because I used to drive night shift for a cab company here in Bend, and that's when I really started to see paranormal unexplained things happening. And so my thoughts were, during the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour, 1 o'clock, when I've normally seen strange things out and about, is when it's going to happen in this building. And that wasn't the case at all. So I found it fascinating that the fact that I had the thoughts that you had to die at a location to have the spirits there. And then the other is the time frame of things are going to happen during this window of time. And that's not the case either.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I've always been curious about too. And it was that same thing. It's like, do they have to be somewhat tied to an area, or is it something where when we die, if you're into, like if you're into racing sports, if you're in, we go to libraries, is it the library that you always spent time with, or is it just basically you can float like wherever you want to and end up just kind of going from place to place? But it seems like a lot of them are kind of stuck in one location. So yeah, it's one of the things I don't know.
And I hope to be, when I pass, that I would go to the location where I was happiest, if that's what happens. But I also find it odd, for example, on Newport, on Avenue heading towards the college, there is 15th Street, which is on one side just a gravel alleyway. And I was up a street looking both ways to turn, and it was dark out and there were street lights. And when I had looked to the right, and looked to the left, my thoughts were catching up with me that I saw something crossing the street, but it seemed like a black garbage bag blowing across under the light. And when I looked back, I saw the black thing disappear into the alley, and it wasn't a deer, it wasn't a person, it flowed across in a way that I couldn't explain. So I went to the gas station near there. I went in there regularly. They let me use the restroom at odd hours, and I was telling one of the guys behind the counter about that, and he informed me that about 10 years ago from then, there was a man who was killed by a drunk driver crossing the street right there. And it was around that time at night when it had occurred. So we kind of came to the thought that maybe that person keeps, because I'd seen it more than once there, because I dropped someone off at home after they got off work, and I would get to that spot about the same time, and sure enough, I'd see just that same thing, this black swoop under the street light, and then it was like I wouldn't see it in the middle of the street. It would be the beginning and then the end.
No, was that Cherry Cab? Is that who you work for?
No, coiled cabs.
Coiled Cabs. Okay.
Yeah. Saw a lot of unusual things. Also teaching music in people's homes, teaching kids in their homes. A lot of the homes in the historical district across from Drake Park that I'd been in had weird things happen. There was a toaster oven that caught fire that was unplugged in the kitchen while I was teaching a music lesson. No one was in the kitchen. And I had to pour a vase of water on their beautiful countertops to put the fire out. My phone completely turned off, was playing audio from something on my phone while there, hearing footsteps upstairs. Those houses over across from Drake Park, just from my time of teaching, a lot of stuff goes on in Bend, for sure.
Yeah, they had a haunted. It's now. Did the theater now? Is that part of the haunted tour now?
I spoke with the Deschutes Historical Society, let me correct that, Deschutes Historical Museum, about what I was doing for CTC, and they said that they'd like for me to give them any information on what they found. They'd like to look into including that in their tour. They do have a wonderful video on YouTube during a virtual tour. Normally they do a tour where you walk around and they talk about it, but due to COVID, they did a virtual one. I'd love it if they would get CTC as a part of that, because the Tower Theater has some great history there as well.
How old is that building that you guys are in?
That question's above my pay grade.
Yeah, I was looking at it because I know I think it was 1976, right? That Cascade Theatrical Company was formed.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
It has an recent anniversary. It's a beautiful theater, recently remodeled, and we're really blessed to have a great theater here in this community. We lost Second Street Theater, which I did an investigation by myself there because I was experiencing things there. And I would see the curtains move when the doors were all closed and no one else was in there, hearing weird noises. But that place has since moved on to other things, but definitely really interested by these moments of what the heck just happened? I can't explain that. My brain wants to know an answer.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, I was just alone, that statue one is one of those just in my head. That's what it was like, like this is I'm like focused on that. I was like, find out where that statue came from, how such a strong entity or presence got attached to that thing. So it was, because like what Laura commented on there, it's like, typically like your normal, little old lady who loves theater isn't going to project that kind of, energy, that kind of negative feeling to an object, where it's more likely poltergeists are, everybody likes to throw out the, demonic, that's not,
Yeah.
possibly not the case, but there's something stronger tied, to that item for some reason. And I'm just curious where it came from,
Yeah,
that you
because
said if there's,
the energy there the whole time, the whole experience has been nothing but positive. And then that thing was just kind of like, all right, we're done. that
yeah,
it was like that's we didn't want to do that side of paranormal investigation. It was it was a feeling I never experienced before or
well, that's like,
since.
that's like the haunted dolls, like Robert the doll. I mean, that is, I said, it had those that sounded like that statue had that kind of a thing where this is one where it almost needs to have the warning label. Like right now, if, I'm not sure if it's still there at the theater, but, most likely there's some poor unfortunate homeless person that picked up a cool statue that's having a really bad night.
Yeah, we
You
got
can't figure
rid
out
of it.
can't figure out what it is because they just picked up this cool statue and it's just like everything is going wrong.
Right. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
and it's just they have no idea what happened. Like, how could this get any worse? I'm already homeless, and now my stuff just keeps getting thrown all over the place. I can't, they're all mad at everybody else, and it's just it happens to be that.
And now
Yeah, it's that
everything is going
statue.
wrong.
Yeah, it's the poor person's already got it bad enough, and now they're tortured by this statue that they thought was cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it was a crazy
Yeah,
turn of the night, definitely.
Yeah, oh man. And so out of all the equipment that you guys got, what gave you the best evidence out of this? That just everybody was just, blown away by.
I was really expecting the green grid because I'd never seen anything like that before. I thought that was going to be really producing a lot, but the EMF reader, I think, is a great start if anybody's looking to doing any investigations, or maybe they have items at home that they picked up at a thrift store that they're curious about. An EMF reader is really great. But I personally was intrigued by the little, I still don't know how it quite works, but the little voice box thing where you would hear these, just this constant clicking noise, and then all of a sudden you'd hear a voice or you'd hear sounds, and supposedly it filters out any radio frequencies of catching, radio channels or anything like that. So from my understanding, I'm not the tech girl, but from my understanding, that's a pretty accurate tool.
That was the SB7, right? Spirit box.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one of those too. Yeah, it's one of those. We'll give a plug. It filters out 104.1 and 105.7. It doesn't bring in the direct.
Doesn't bring Dave Clemens in.
Yeah, Dave Clemens is not over there going Janelle. Yeah, it's supposed to, because a lot of times, like when you go, you can adjust the frequency and it'll just be.
Yeah.
You'll hear that, and then what it's doing, it's doing a rapid sweep over all these bands, and it's not supposed to pick up, direct line from a single radio station. It's supposed to be when you hear something like it's over there. If you hear something like that, what it's doing is it's using the communication from that broad sweep and all different things and combining it and supposedly being able to use that to communicate. And that's where, and I like it myself. I've got one. And so as soon as if we ever go on one, that's, I've got I've got some of the equipment to do it. I just we need to get on this.
And the thing with that thing is it wasn't always going off with different things. There was only maybe a handful of things that came through, which was the encore after I had done my comedy. I think there was something after Larry did his comedy. It said something. There was maybe a name or two that got brought up, and then the happy song that came on after we had done our performance, and and we would see either dust, bugs, I'm not sure what, but those little orb things were when you'd stand on stage, and I was doing my little comedy bit for the spirits. It was all over the place. You could see it with your own eyes. It wasn't like take a picture and see it. It was right across, and then another one would go zigzag. It wasn't I've been on that stage many, many times performing, and we would have the spotlights or whatever. You wouldn't see, even if it was all dark, you wouldn't see those things zooming around.
I think
But
you physically seeing them is definitely something, because there's many instances of people reporting seeing orbs floating around. Because when you see the night vision, that's one of the things. Is it a dust? Is it bugs? That's the predominant thing. I give more credence to the investigators like yourself that are like all of a sudden like going, oh my God, what was that? I felt something just touch me. And right before that, you see this thing go, and just, immediately like go right to them. And then they have that reaction. I'm more like, okay, there's something there, to the one that just, did you see this little thing float by? I'm like, that's probably the infamous dust orb bug thing. But when you're physically there, like playing the piano with the lights on, and you see something, dust doesn't act like that.
yeah.
I mean, you're not seeing this giant piece of dust floating by. I mean, if you saw something physically that large, you saw something. I mean, you actually saw an apparition, which is awesome. That's cool.
Way more than I thought I would even see, because I've never experienced it. I mean, it was like if you would see a swarm of mosquitoes at the lake. That's what you were seeing.
Got the new Bobby Mackey's going on here.
It was pretty crazy, and I appreciate you guys having us on, or me on, and Stacy in spirit and not.
I know. I feel bad. It's like she keeps having troubles with the signal, and so.
That's the mid Oregon troubles of internet. But I thought I was going to have the issues. But I think you've inspired me to go back and do it again this summer, and take on some of those challenges and ideas that you guys gave us, to even the forensic artist, and the different things in recording. First and foremost, during the performance hours, the theater is usually open. We got the first one out of the way. We'd love to also do another one at McMiniman's. There's several hot spots there that we were thinking we'd stay the night and do an investigation there. Also, there's some campground areas that one of our investigators, Stuart, was telling us about, Native American lands where they've heard children or horses galloping, different things like that. We would like to go out there and explore. We're also big into looking into Bigfoot sightings and things around in this area that we've heard about. And some unexplained UFO stuff in this area as well. I think this land is really rich with history, and I would love to learn about that side of this part of Oregon. And thank you for inspiring me to do a second one at CTC.
Well, I'm glad we could do that. I don't. It's just it's one of those things too, where it's just, for me, like I said, through these, I'm learning right along with you guys. And that's one of the things that I learned from Greater Boston Paranormal. And I just thought about that. They're like, we always see this cook on the ship, and we do these things. And I'm like, and then it just popped in my head. It's like, I don't know if forensic artist is the right word. It's that one that does like the police sketches, you have something as they describe it. And that's where I'm like having somebody like Stacy saying, I see a lady, she's wearing this, and like the one you said with the heels, just, she could actually draw this. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, you take her picture, and then you look up the lady that was there, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, this is a match. This is actually her. And you're like, and I can't think of a better validation to the whole process than somebody that doesn't know the history. Like she could draw some guy, and that could have been a guy that was involved in an ice house that was there in the thing that was killed, but absolutely loved going to the productions in town.
He could have owned it. Yeah. And donated a lot of money. And that's how the ice connection is. Yeah, totally. I love that idea. And that's what has really inspired me to go, okay, we got to do this again, and go through those artifacts and take pictures of them, and each one that we get an EMF reading on. And if you guys ever come back to Bend, we could set it up to where you could join us in the investigation.
Oh, that would be awesome. Like I said,
That would be.
I still have connections in there, you know, family that lives in Oregon. So it's like we moved down here to Central Florida, you know, to get away from the cold because it was just, you know, it's one of those. It's like a little nostalgic with a fire, but it's like, man, I'm telling you, get down here where it's warm. It's like it's so nice.
I had a handful of friends move from Oregon to Florida over the last couple of years to get away from Cape Brown and the Oregon, you know, whole nother podcast. But you know, it's something I'm jealous of you guys over there in Florida as the wind is blowing the trees outside. The blue sky makes you think it's nice out, but brr.
Yeah, it's like it looks like a bluebird day.
I'm jealous of you all. I would love to be in the cold right now. I would love to be up north, Oregon, Washington, somewhere. That's where I'm moving. That's my spot.
Come night ski at Hoodoo. I'll give you a couple tickets.
Yes, it is fun. Like I said, I won't lie. Like that's what I always tell them. You know, being a tourist, it's one thing. Working and living there is, I've just told you that the end of December, January, till somewhere around the middle of March is just not fun. It's miserable to drive. It's just miserable. It's just nothing better than snow ruts. Let me tell you.
We actually had a really mild winter this year. My husband and I were patting each other on the back. We actually made it through this winter without needing to change our tires over. So didn't really snow much, and which isn't going to be good for the
water,
but you know, I saved myself some money on tires.
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I look forward to it. Like I said, it makes me happy that, you know, we're inspiration for you guys to do this thing again. But I mean, I really look forward to that. I mean, and that's just as you guys explain. I mean, isn't that how we do everything? It's like you look back on it, you're like, oh, I wish I did this, and then the next time it's even better. Now you know the stuff that didn't work that's going to work. You know that this works, so we can expand on that and spend more time focusing on this thing. And that's, I mean, I can't see how this cannot be put on that tour now, because from what you guys are saying, this is a highly active location.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, because we haven't really talked about it to anybody. We've just been holding on to this information, and I saw you doing that interview with Dave Clemens, my coworker, which was a fantastic interview. I watched it 3 times because it was just so funny and entertaining. And I thought, you know what, I need based off of your introduction of your podcast, I was like, all right, they might be interested in knowing what we did at CTC. So great to have a platform to share our story with. And we're going to go back and do it again. We'll let you know so that we can give you a part 2.
Well, I appreciate that.
We'd love to have you back.
Since Stacy hasn't made it on, I wanted her to plug. Do you happen to know how people can get a hold of her by any chance? Because I want to plug her.
Yeah, I found her on Google just by searching up Psychic Oregon, Central Oregon, but her name is Stacy Mitchell. She is on Facebook. And I believe she has a little online herb shop too, as well. I believe. I feel bad that her connection wasn't as clear, but yeah.
I was doing let's see. I'm trying to do a little real quick thing. Seeing here, it's not. See, Silver Moon Healing. Is that her?
I'm not sure. I can look up while I got you on too.
Because it says Silver Moon Healing, Stacy Mitchell, Psychic Clairvoyant Advisor, is located on, I think it's Widgeon Drive.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that's her. If not, you know, hey, that other Stacy Mitchell, you're welcome. I just gave you a plug. If it's not the right one, it's what I'm hoping. But it's because if that's her, I just wanted to give her a plug. If not, like I said, I'd be more than happy to, you know, put her information out there later on.
I believe Psychic in Coos Bay.
Is she in Coos Bay?
Yeah, Stacy Mitchell, Psychic Medium, I believe she's over in Coos Bay.
So, yeah, that might not be the same one, but hey, like I said, there you go.
Yeah, there it
Write
is.
it down.
Stacy Mitchell, psychic medium and paranormal investigations.
Nope, there it is. Here, let me bring it up on the screen. I found it on Facebook. There.
And if it's not, if there's another psychic that's Stacy Mitchell, well, then we plugged them too, I guess.
That's using her picture. That looks like the same Stacy. So I'm gonna go.
Yes.
Yes. So you can go to Stacy Mitchell. You know, she, like I said, like the page. See, like the page. I just did that right there. You can go ask questions. She's got information that she does. That's in same thing. You know, you can catch Janelle at 104.1. You know, it's and that you can also get. Is that the only station that you're on?
Yeah, sometimes I'll fill in the other stations, but the Peak 104.1, you can listen and stream at mycentraloregon.com. You can also like DJ Janelle on Facebook.
I think I did.
And then Cascade's Theatrical Company is the theater that we did the investigation of. And I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you, because this probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for connecting with like-minded people on Paranormal Bend on Facebook. That group is also looking to do investigations and meet up with other people that want to do kind of like what we did, where we just met some other people on that Facebook group and decided to get together and do an investigation. So it's a great platform if anyone in Central Oregon is looking to meet like-minded thinkers on what the heck's going on type thoughts with paranormal.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's you know, I said everybody just support them. Like I said right there, if you saw on the bottom of there, it said you can sign up for more information to follow along with them as well. Because it was like I said, for me it was really cool just kind of get, because it's like nostalgia, you know, seeing the place like I drove by all the time, people I've listened to, the different things. I really like that, and I'm also looking forward to the new information that you guys find, because that's going to be, you know, really fantastic as this thing goes around, because you guys really did come up with some really cool, you know, experiences. I mean, that's a hell of a first time to go on an investigation. Exploding
I think it took
chairs.
us about 6 months to absorb what we experienced, because it was just really kind of, you know, you're an observer in the experience, and a lot of times when things would happen, it takes you as a living being a few seconds to kind of register, like, what did you guys just, what was that, you know? And to have other people there to kind of, you know, be skeptical of what you saw or experienced, but also supportive. It was a really great balance, and our team was a lot of fun. And you know, I definitely want to do it again and share with you what we discover on the next round.
Well, awesome. Well, here, like I said, we'll wrap it up right here. But if you want to hang on, like I said, as soon as we're done, I'll talk to you for just a second after the outro is all done. When we go offline. So hold on one second here. So this episode was brought to you by 3beerspodcast.com. We're still looking for a sponsor. Everybody, sponsor. You know, I said we can also sponsor the sponsor and help the show by going to Outer Realms Bathworks. Tanya Medea makes our signature blend beard oil. You can go to there on Facebook, Outer Realms Bathworks. Yes, it's. I would like to say by using a couple of drops of this is what occurs, but that would be false advertising and that would be fake news. But it does keep it from sticking out in weird locations. So just by using that, it keeps it somewhat tamed down.
Well,
so
thanks. I could use that.
Yeah, it had been the bearded lady. It's like, yeah, that's a yeah. So check that out. You could also find us on all of social media. Like we had a couple of comments tonight. Same way you can really help out the show is like, especially when you're watching, is those emojis. Put those on there. Comment, whether you're YouTube, Facebook, comment, because that's what helps the algorithm the most. It seems to be. It's just when people are really engaged. You know, like it just we've picked up some real fans of the show. You know, we appreciate everybody that shares the stuff and, you know, likes and shares and watches. I mean, that means a lot to us. So just like, subscribe on pretty much all this TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all those as Three Beards Podcast. Check that out. We're also rebroadcast every Wednesday night at 11 p.m. ish, depending on when Outer Realms is done. On right there on ERRT Radio, courtesy of Ron. Appreciate that. You can also support the show by going to redbubble.com or patreon.com/Three Beards Podcast to buy merchandise. Or when you go to threebeardspodcast.com, you can also go to our gear and merchandise section and purchase stuff there. But I just want to thank the guests, everybody that's watching. Go Cascade's theatrical company. Go support them. Let them know that you saw this. It's great to give them exposure, outside of the Central Oregon area too. That really helps there, bringing in, guests and stuff to the area, and that they have a place to actually go check out those things. So, definitely support them. Stacy Mitchell, go there to the, support her, tell her thank you for being on the show as well. Corrie, hope the little one's feeling better. Like I said, sorry you weren't able to make the show. We'll, make the next one for sure. We'll do that. So everybody, thank you for watching. We will see you on the next one. No show, unless I do a little weird one, just impromptu, but there'll be no show next week because I'm going to be off. So we'll be back on the 13th to talk about hoodoo, justice magic. And so that'll be a pretty cool show there too. So everybody, thanks again for watching, Janelle. Appreciate it. And we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Good night.